And even if things are terrible and you're going through something difficult, I know sometimes we have to go through grief and we will be in the frozen state. But when you can move that body and start to flow, okay, resilience plus joy equals empowerment.
Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and I am your host, Alicia Lyons, mom support coach, and we have a very special guest today, Toni Bergins. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I love that it's called Imperfect Mommying. I just love that it's called Imperfect because that is my whole mission in life, is to get rid of the perfectionism in our culture, just in general.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually came up with the name, and then I recognized that one of my biggest hangups was that I wanted people to see me as perfect. And, but also people don't see themselves in you if you look perfect, if you act perfect, if they think you're perfect, because they don't think they're themselves as perfect. So it actually creates more distance when you try to be perfect. And I've had several people say, like, what's coming out now is authenticity. And we're shifting into this realm of, like, people aren't going to pay you any mind if they think that you're inauthentic.
Absolutely agreed. And my whole mission, my book, everything that I've been doing for the last, 27 years is about authenticity and coming into your own. And being the imperfect mom has been part of my life too. I'm a mom, so I'm really glad that you asked me to be on the show because, I've made my mistakes. I've done the best I could. I had a divorce, all the different things that happened in this current sort of, I guess we'll call it generation that we're in, where there's so much, more freedom. Actually, people didn't get divorced because they didn't have the freedom. Now we have freedom, so we're saying I don't want to be in this anymore, and we're realizing some of our partners and things are different than what we might have wanted, and it's just so complex about parenting. But the kids were, of course, always my number one priority, and that is a whole nother story for a whole nother conversation. But it's so funny you should say what you said, because when I first, I had my own experiences in school. So when school came up as the big decision, what was I going to do with my kids? I decided, I'm going to send them to the ultimate perfect school. Mm-hmm. So I did. I sent them to, one went to Waldorf and one went to Montessori. And, they both are so pissed at me, that I sent them to these places. I didn't put them in public school where all the normal kids are. It was just so funny. I thought I was doing the perfect thing.
Yes.
So, and my point is, it was always a comedy for us, trying to be in the Waldorf, because there's a lot of rules about different things, and I didn't do it all perfectly, and I was very imperfect mommying.
Toni, tell me a little bit about your book.
So my book is called Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. And the book is about going on a personal journey into your own body, into your own awareness, into your emotions, into your mind, and into your body, of course, and into your sensuality and your freedom. And it's really about reclaiming yourself. And I think for moms especially, we're so pulled upon in every different direction that taking some time each week or each day, if you can do each day, it's amazing. But most people can grab an hour or two a week to go and do self-care of a different kind. And my book is about the journey of women. I wrote it for all genders, but it is my book. So I am a woman, and I experienced a lot of, body image issues, eating disorders, things I didn't want to bring into my child rearing for sure. And, self-esteem issues and just feeling disempowered and all the things that happen as we grow up, going through adolescence. And that's one of the things about parenting I think is so key is having that understanding. So as we go through our parenting, we're so conscious of what they're going through. So the book takes you on a healing journey through your own, starting with embodiment. What does it mean to be in the body? What does it mean to be awakened? What does it mean to have your energy flowing and moving? What does it mean to be present and really listening and be empathic and understand the emotions? Because when you understand your own emotions, you can hold space for others' emotions. So I think that the work made me much better parent than I ever could have been if I wasn't available to my own emotions, to be able to say, hey, okay, this kid is suffering right now. How do I be present for this moment? And for myself, because we also suffer when our kids suffer, it's like that. And we also could have our own other things going on. So, so the book is taking people on a journey through their own body. It's kind of like a hero's journey. It follows the hero's journey map. So we start out, we feel this excitement. We're going to roll around on the floor. We're going to get into our skin, get into every cell, get into, our muscles, our tissues, our bones. We're going to start to move the energy. Then we get into the emotions, and that's where things get real. And we say, what am I holding? What is stuck in me? What do I not express? Because some of us are raised, in our with our parenting that comes down to us, don't express your anger, smile all the time, be a good girl, blah, blah, blah. So we have to work on what needs to be expressed. And then we express that in a container. We create our own little containers of dance. We do it through music and dance. So it doesn't affect anyone on the outside. It's like the work of journey dance, which is my life's work, is how do you process personally so that when you come to the situation that is challenging you, you've already processed it. You've already felt the feelings, you've moved through it, so you can be available to the person that you're communicating with in a totally present way without all the judgments and all the fears and all the things. So it's really about emotional healing at the core. Then we go into like, what is it like to feel amazing in our body? What is it like to feel celebration in our body? What's it like to feel sensual again? What's it like to be sexual? What's it like to be all the things that we shut down during, certain parts of our lives? And we bring it back, we reclaim it, and then we are moving to what I call, the heart and the prayer state, where we're just in sacred relationship with ourselves and with, whatever you call universe, spirit, whatever that energy is that really moves you. Some people don't have that connection, and they find it on the dance floor, and they feel like, oh my goodness, this is where I feel connected to the world, connected to the universe. And then I take you into the mind, and I talk about how you can really listen when you're in your body to the thoughts that come in, and decide, is that thought useful to me, or is that thought harmful to me? Am I helping myself right now? Am I helping my beloveds? Am I just replaying old garbage that I've just been recycling since I was a child because I took on messages that weren't meant for me? Because our parents, of course, are struggling with their own issues. And if they're not conscious people, they're just going to give it to you, without any thought. They might even be, perpetuating trauma, violence. I mean, we really don't know. Everyone's story is different. So how do we become that game changer and say, you know what, I'm not going to perpetuate this. I'm going to edit. I'm going to listen. I'm going to clarify. I'm going to say, okay, what can I do differently? Because we all want to evolve, right? We all want to be not a perfect parent, but we want to change the game so that we're not recycling old material over and over and over and not evolving. You know what I mean?
Yes. And one of my favorite quotes that I've seen on Instagram or whatever is like the quote is, it ran in the family until it ran into me. And I think that that's what today's conscious parent is really dealing with. And like everything that you're saying about your book, I feel like incredibly synchronistic for what I've been wanting and looking for. Because I recognize maybe a year or so ago that I'm very disconnected from my body. And I don't know when that happens, or why, but there is definitely a disconnection. And so I think that, so now that I'm aware of it, now I'm consciously incompetent about the fact that I have this disconnection. So there's the awareness that I'm not connected, but the incompetence of not knowing how to get connected. So I'm like what's the name of your book?
Embody.
That's right, Embody.
Yeah, feel, heal, and
Said
transform
that
your life
first.
through movement. I love it. So let me talk to that for a second with you.
Yeah.
If you're cool with it, we can just go into it.
I've been
So,
coached on my podcast a lot, so.
oh, I love it. You're so cool. I mean, I'm not going to coach you directly, but I'm going to ask questions. Just like and how do you recognize like the disconnect? So what I call the disconnect, I call it, instead of calling it like disassociation and all these really scary terms that people are afraid, and it's a scary term to say, are you disassociated? Da, 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 da. You know, so I like to call it the escape hatch. So like we have this little place that we go when we just don't want to feel what's going on. And it's totally safe. It's a defense mechanism. It's normal. It's natural. It's necessary. So nothing is wrong with you. Number one, that's my big thing. Like nothing's wrong with you, with anyone listening right now. We're just learning how our system works because your nervous system has been trained and it's so old, you're not conscious of it, right? And then when you become conscious of it, it's like, oh, I see that when I feel nervous, when I feel confused, or I don't have the right answer, or I'm throwing these out, right? Or when I don't know, like what to say in a moment, or if I'm just on autopilot, I forget that I have a body and that I can listen to it, right? So I go into the escape hatch and I hang out here. And I hung out there for a long time because feeling the feelings, I have this talk that I do called Move Into a New Story. Number one is get into your body. What does that mean? For me, it means we're going to roll around on the floor. We're going to undulate our chest and our pelvis. We're going to look at our own hands and be like, look at this thing move. Oh, I am in a body. And we start really getting into it. Then we snap our fingers and feel joy and turn on the joy. So now we're like in the body. So once you get into it, it's almost like you can sense when you are doing that disconnect, because it's when you slam in for the first time, you might cry because you forget, oh my God, I'm home. Like this is my home base. I gotta be in here. So I think that when people are in the escape hatch, it's really that there's some stuff that needs to be felt. And the second step too is feel your feelings. And that's the one that everybody hates, right? It's like, it's just no fun to feel rage. It's no fun to feel grief. It's just no fun. And we can't avoid it. It's like, I remember reading like the AA books years and years ago. I was in Al-Anon at one point from some relationship I had been in. And I read this thing about when you turn down the volume of your emotions, you turn down all the volume. You can't just, you say, I'm going to turn down my anger and turn down my this and just turn up my joy. I wish it were so simple.
You know, those soundboards where people can, do the turn up this and turn down this and make the popping stop and like that. So it's like we think that that's how it works, but it's on off. There's
right. So with emotion,
or it's more like a dimmer switch. So in the light, you can't see my light. You can see your light, but there's 4 light bulbs in your light. You can't just turn down the unhappy or the anger light. It's all or nothing. And yeah, I definitely recognize that. And I had a coach once say that not sad isn't the same as happy.
Exactly. I think that's
we got to go from sad to not sad,
right,
to maybe there's even another step and then happy.
I love that. And I do talk about the baby steps. And one of my favorite, I used to listen to Abraham Hicks years ago. I loved it so much. And my favorite sentence is, wouldn't it be nice if, it's my favorite sentence. So I have this technique I teach at my workshops where I have these boxes. I'm going to give away my secrets right now. So I have these 2 boxes. One box is, it's like this big brown and green box. And it's, I let go, I release, I no longer choose this thought. I no longer choose this. And you go and you write stuff down. It's like a purge and you put it in. But then you have to go to the other box, which is this beautiful, I made it blue and white and clouds, whatever. It's just for fun, sparkles. And that box is, wouldn't it be nice if, or today I choose, and it's like this, it's a mental, I call it mind busting technique. It's my thing. And you go to the other box. And so let's say we have like the crisis up, I hate myself, which is very common. You'd be shocked how many people have told me they hate themselves. And it hurts when I hear that, because I believe each person matters. And I know I hated myself at many points in my life. And I have really worked on that. So I really love myself. Every day I wake up in the morning and I kiss my shoulders and I say, and I kiss my hands and I say, I love you, regardless of who I'm with, I have to do me first, right? It's not about whether that person loves me or I love that person or whoever I'm with. It's about me loving me. And it's not about my kids loving me and all that stuff. It's about me loving me. So that's my other thing. But anyway, go to the wouldn't it be nice if. So if you have an I hate myself vibration, you can't go to I love myself. It's just fake. It's fake. It's like saying I hate myself, I love myself. And it's just not real. So the work that you'll go through if you do decide to, work with me, buy the book or do something like that, where you get into your body, you start to feel all the feelings, you'll be able to say, wouldn't it be nice if I didn't hate myself? Wouldn't it be nice if each day I love myself more and more? Each day more and more. One of my favorite DJs I worked with for years, he used to say, more and more I'm like, oh, I love that. More and more I'm loving myself. So those are the baby steps that we take with the mind. The mind is so essential. The issue is if we're not in the body, we can't just work with the mind because we feel the feelings. So if you say a word, if you're stuck in a I hate myself or I'm not good enough mindset, your body literally responds to that in a crumple. Think about posture and the way people stand, the way they carry themselves, and the way they radiate their energy, right? If you know someone is like always bringing you down, it's because they're down. They're in that loop. And if you could just get them into, wouldn't it be nice if, and you start to perk up your whole posture, your whole energy, your whole body. You are energy, your physical form, right? And then the mind is really part of all that. So the whole work is about weaving the mind body together, with the emotions, so that you can then say, okay, I can actually move into that joy. I can move into feeling like a liberated state where I am resilient with joy. One of my phrases in the book, I call it the equation: resilience minus joy equals suffering. So if we spend all our time, like, people go through a lot of different difficulties in their lives, and there's a lot of pain. I'm not going to lie and say that we're not going to experience difficulties. We are. So if we're attached to that difficulty and we're looping it constantly and staying in a victim consciousness, we will feel suffering, right?
Yeah.
But if we remember that joy is available, like literally, just like you and I, we could just bop for a second. You could bop with me. We could just move side to side and just, there you go. Look, you're already smiling, right?
Right.
Movement is flow, right? Movement is liberation. It's flow. And even if things are terrible and you're going through something difficult, I know sometimes we have to go through grief and we will be in the frozen state. But when you can move that body and start to flow, okay, resilience plus joy equals empowerment. Because then I can say, okay, if I have joy in my cells, in my memory, in my body living in me, then I can go, okay, I'm empowered. So I don't have to choose and get stuck in that victim loop of self-perpetuating pain.
Yeah. I was in a conference call the other day, and she started with a little meditation, and she was like, okay, roll your shoulders back, right? And roll them forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I was it felt so good. And it was like snap, crackle, pop, both forward and back. I was like, oh my gosh. Now we had just been moving. So, but it was like, I didn't feel that tension there.
Right.
Until she, had me move my body in a way that I wasn't moving my body before. So it's,
every time you move, you smile, by the way.
yeah. The emotion is energy in motion. So, you got to stop, you got to get it out.
Get it moving. And you know what? Emotions need to be expressed. I mean, they really do. And one of the things about expression of emotion, like, so when you watch a child, right, when you're parenting, right, you're watching your child can change states in an instant. I mean, literally from laughing to crying or whatever, or from crying to laughing, hopefully. But they can change. They can feel everything. There's like, they really low edit, unless they're being, conditioned. Do not express that emotion. Shut that down. If the parent is like, no, there's a lot of interesting ways of parenting, right? So if you give your child emotional freedom, let me tell you, you will have to deal with that later, because I have children with great emotional freedom, because I chose to, if they were crying, one of the things in my journey dance work that I do is it's physical contact. It's called the journey dance hold, where we sit down, lean against something. So the holder is leaning and is being supported, and the person faces out, and you hold them. So like we both be facing you, and we just let them feel. So at one point, one of my children, was really struggling with a lot of emotions, and I just didn't want to shush him or shut him down and tell him that he was bad or wrong for having all these emotions, because I was scared of it. So what I did was I did the journey dance hold. He doesn't know that. I'm sure he'll never listen to this podcast, I'm sure, but he might, you never know. He's pretty open. But I held him and I let him feel without me pressing myself into his situation. It was almost like I had his back and didn't come this way. It's a really interesting thing about parenting. How much do you allow? And then when is it like too much? And you have to say, hey, let's get back into our body and let's stop the perpetuation of the story and just feel the emotion, let it pass through. So what I teach is, how do you express your emotions? And because it's in this container of dance, it's very safe. We're not talking, we're telling the story with our body, with shape and movement and vigor and expression, and we're able to release it, evacuate it, like let it be heard, let it be known, let it be seen, and then let it go. Yeah. The emotion, the story, you still might have to do what you have to do to take care of the business at hand, but without that painful emotion, like sort of running the show. I ask the question, like, who's running the show? Yeah. Is it your manager, like in the IFS? Are you shutting down all the emotions so that you can just be functional and perfect? Or are you allowing yourself to be authentic? Because it's scary. It's vulnerable to say, like, I'm really struggling. It's not easy for everyone. Yeah. And I think as a parent, we really think we have to know it all. And some of the stuff that I'm dealing with now, my kids are in their 20s. I'm basically saying, I don't know. More than me at this point. I have to help them with certain very important tasks, like how do they file taxes or how do they get their health insurance, right. But like, things like that, I have to actually help. But other things, I think my favorite thing that happened recently was my eldest son called me to talk about his relationship. And I said something and he said, "Oh my God, can you write that down?" And I was like, oh my God, I got points. He wanted me to send it, right? He wanted me to send him a text of what I had said because he thought it was so great, helping him with his relationship because he loves this person and he wants it to work out. And I've been through a lot of relationships, so I had some advice. So it's one of the fun things about being a parent, when they finally come to you as an adult and you have like a different kind of relationship. But whatever, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I've had some really cool conversations with my son. He's 12 and he hasn't quite got into like teenage angst.
Yes.
And I have a friend who's a parent educator, and she said, I don't think that you and your son are gonna have that. Like, you're gonna have some moments like stickiness, but I think he's always gonna come to you because of the foundation that you have with him. And yesterday he was sitting on the stairs because the carpet, it's brand new carpet, so it's like he's just enjoying that.
Yeah.
So he's just sitting on the stairs and he goes, "I love you, Mom." And I said, "I love you too." And he goes, "I'm not just saying that. I really do love you." And I was like, oh.
Very sweet. I have to tell you, because you're at that 12. Is that your oldest or?
He's my only, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if I was going to give you a piece of advice, I got the best piece of advice from a life coach who I worked with. She's in her late 80s. She's still my life coach on and off. I love her to pieces. And she gave me some advice once when the kids were like in that, before they go into what they call the cave stage, which does happen. I know, I'm just letting you know. 13, 15, I don't know when it'll happen, but it does happen. Yeah. And the boys, this is a boy thing. Boys go into the cave and they come out, when they're done with adolescence. I swear I'm not kidding. But you still are close, don't worry. But what she said to me was, fight about something, create resistance about something that doesn't matter as much as the relationship. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, there's gonna be rebellion. It's just the natural state of separation, right? So she said this to me. She said, what if like you just decided that like you can't stand their music? So every time they play their music, you're like, oh God, this music. And they're like, we love our music. And go in your room and listen to your music. That's a great thing to like have friction over, not like the important stuff. You know what I mean? So like, I did that, right? And I was able to remain close to them. I was like, oh, I don't like these video games. I don't want to be part of it. You know, go play. They're like, Mom, you want to play blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. Of course I did, but I was like, no, I don't want to play that. And it was
Well, I got
good.
that one down, no problem.
Yeah, it was good though,
because I don't like a video game.
I know, I get you, trust me. My kid was into Fortnite and all that. So we create resistance of things that are outside the relationship instead of the relationship itself. It was great advice. I really used that, and it was helpful. So we talk about all the deep stuff, but we can fight about, you know, music, but we don't really fight anymore about that kind of stuff. That was during those teenagey angsty times.
During the cave years. Got
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
So speaking of advice, is there, that I feel like that was directed at me. And do you have a piece of advice that you want to share with moms listening?
Well, for moms listening, I just want to first honor you as human beings, because moms are amazing. Mothering it's a unique and incredible journey for everybody. And we have lots of different things that come up that are unexpected, and the child is their own soul. And, you know, we have to honor that. And we might do things that, you know, we think are the best thing, you know, and that they turn out to like say to you later, I wish you never made me do that, you know, and you're like, all right, well, I did the best I could in that moment. So start with self-forgiveness, number one. And number two, take time for yourself, for your body, for some kind of a practice, whether you do yoga, whether you dance, whether it's walking, running, swimming, whatever it is, something that is just for you. Because there's so many demands. I mean, there's those 50,000 places to drive, and there's all the food and all the things and all the money need to be made. And especially if you're single parenting, extremely hard. I've done that too. You know, there's just a lot. And just being in a state of self-compassion, I think, is my number one thing I would say to anyone. And that's what Journey Dance is about. It's about coming into a state of love for yourself. Sometimes I'll do a dance and say, think of somebody that you love so much. And I think of my two boys and I put them in the dance and I just send them love, regardless of what they're going through, whether we're close right now or not. You know, I have kids at mine are in their 20s, so they're at a different separation stage, much harder for me. I miss them in some ways, but I also I'm letting them go so they can separate and differentiate, which they have to. And that's hard. But during those years when I was playing on the floor, I was reading the books, I was in that parenting, so present with it, and just love every second of it, because it's going to change. Yeah. That'd be my greatest, you know, advice, really.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
I've read so many books. I mean, I'm a consumer of information. Let me think for a second. Well, I love story even more than I like self-help books. I like story. But let me think for a second. I mean, pivotal books in my life were probably The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Really was a helpful book for me, because he gets you to listen to your mind, and it's almost a comical way. And you just start laughing at yourself when you're starting, like when you're judge. I think the biggest pain in the ass is the judge. Really, I mean, if I was going to say, what would I recommend? Read books to get rid of your judge. You know, I've loved so many books. It's really hard for me to even tell you. You know, I love Byron Katie. I love The Turnaround. I love looking at how I judge others and see that it's myself I'm really judging. You know, I just love so many different. I love Matt Kahn. Loving What Is. Matt Kahn has a great quote that I love, that I'm going to misquote it because it was from a talk. It wasn't written, but he said something like, and this has to do with the body. He said, your body, I know what it was. Okay. Somebody asked him, like, you know, what do I say to someone who says, get over it already? And he said, your body is on body time. Your mind is like a supercomputer. Okay. Yeah. So your mind can be like, get over it already. But your body's like, whoa, I've only been here for the number of years I've been here. So let me unwind. In homeopathy, they say when you have a condition, it takes as long, which I don't like because I believe we can change things in a nanosecond, but the philosophy is as long as it took you to create this pattern, it will take you to uncreate it. I don't believe that, but it's a philosophy. So if you say, okay, if I'm on body time, my body needs time. So instead of rushing ourselves and being like, you know, get healed, fix yourself, you know, whoa, calm down, take a breath, and move it through the body. Because what if you're parenting and you have had trauma in your life and you're parenting the best you can? Maybe there was sexual abuse history in the family of origin. These are very common things. And then we raise our kids and we want to do it right. We don't want to have anything happen to them. We want to protect them at all costs. We want to, like we're so hyper vigilant. I know many, many people like this. So if we don't let ourselves feel the pain of our own past and do that healing work, we're gonna, in some way, whether it's hyper vigilant or hyper protective or whatever it is, we're going to pass on something unbeknownst to us to our child to create fear in them that we are just naturally inside of us. So the work of parenting really is to do our work and to say, what am I afraid of? What do I need to heal still? It might not be that. It might be that you were told that you are too much, right? I mean, there's so many messages, right?
Too emotional.
Yeah, too emotional, exactly. So we shut that down, be quiet. And then we have our kid and we're like, oh, I don't want them to get this negative feedback from the world, because we got it. So it's really about becoming just so conscious of our own programming and our own patterning that we can let them be them, and with good boundaries, and another piece of advice that I don't really like advice, but another learning that I have experienced is I think a thing I could have done better for sure was really giving them more responsibility at a younger age. I loved being the caretaker because it was a role that I knew and I could take it on and be really good at it. But I didn't give them enough skills. Like my son sometimes calls me and he's like, oh my God, Mom, why didn't you make me do my laundry when I was 12? Like I made them do their laundry when they were like 16, but I should have started earlier. A few things I should have started earlier. So they know the value of work, the value of hard work, the value of money. I would teach them about money. I would, because, the kids right now are getting a lot of conditioning that we can't control from media. And it's really hard, really gotta, really work with that. And some people think they're going to remember becoming a YouTube sensation or becoming a whatever, an influencer or whatever, that's work for some people, but other people, they're going to need a real job. They're going to need to learn how to make ends meet and then do their passion, all the things. So finding that balance of, I want to encourage you to, follow your dream if you have one. And if you don't have one, then just pick something you enjoy doing. But I will say skills are really good to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Where can our listeners find you?
Well, they can find me. Most of my stuff is on journeydance.com, which is where my classes, I teach every week online. I have a team and we rotate and we teach every week online on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. PST. And we do a journey dance every week. I teach some other workshops online as well. And then in person all over. We have teachers all over the country and some internationally. So journeydance.com is your home base. If you want to grab the book, Embody, Feel, Heal, Transform Your Life Through Movement, there's a barcode in there that you can go into, and you enter a portal, which has 30 videos, and you can start your movement practice with me just in a one-on-one, all free situation. I'm doing a master class pretty soon where I'll take people through the book in February. So there's a lot of places to find me. And I also have Toni Bergins is my Instagram, and where I spend a lot of time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining me on the podcast and sharing your beautiful wisdom. And I'm definitely going to grab a copy of your book.
I'm so glad.
And thank you for what you're doing in the world.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. The Audible is coming out very soon. And I did it with music. So I have music underlying. It's going to be the coolest Audible. I'm so excited. So if you're an audio listener, you'll be able to dance with me right there, standing there in your car, listening to the book with the music. So that'll be super exciting. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad you're offering this to moms. It's such a big job. It's such a big responsibility that, we're just awesome people.
Yes, we are.
All of us moms.
Yeah.
Honoring and bowing to the moms.
Yes. Thank you again. And we'll have another episode of Imperfect Momming for you all coming next week. And until we meet again, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's AlysiaLyons.com. See you next time.